Hi, and welcome to Volusia Magazine. I'm Amber Patterson. Well, now that summer is ended, it's time for back to school, and that means drivers need to pay extra special attention, especially in school zones. We have a special message from Sheriff Ben Johnson encouraging drivers and pedestrians alike to be on the lookout. And now, the longest river in Florida gets recognized with its own specialty license plate. Find out how you can get your St. Johns River license plate coming up ahead. Volusia's libraries aren't just about books. In fact, library services extend beyond the page. And finally, Community Information Director Dave Byron and his guest, Sandy Bishop, the Executive Director with the Volusia County Building Industry Association, chat about Volusia's construction upswing. Those segments, news, and more coming right up on Volusia Magazine. Stay tuned. Things are looking up for Volusia County's water levels, which are increasing after a 3-year drought.
Since April in Volusia County, we've received above normal rainfall in each one of the months until the present. So what we're kind of hoping is that this trend will continue and that we'll pull out of the 3-year drought that we find ourselves to be in.
For the past 4 months, above normal rainfall has fallen in East and West Volusia, bringing our 12-month deficit to just under 2 inches. With increased rainfall, homeowners who normally water their lawns should turn off their automatic sprinklers to save money, water, and wear and tear on their sprinklers.
What's nice about receiving above normal rainfall is that you don't have to water your lawn as frequently or sometimes at all. You know, a lot of people ask me, how do I know when does my lawn need water? And a good simple test is to go out onto the lawn and step on it and move your foot, and if the blades come back up, it doesn't need water. If they continue to lay over, then it's time to water your lawn.
To learn more about water conservation, you can visit volusia.org. Volusia County students are returning to school this week, and it's time to brush up on laws regarding school zones and school buses. Volusia County has more than 70 public schools. Be prepared to slow down at school zones and keep an eye out for crossing guards and unpredictable children. When children or crossing guards are on the crosswalk, drivers must yield or stop at the marked stop line without stopping on the crosswalk. Remember, it's the driver's responsibility to avoid colliding with pedestrians.
We all have to remember that a new school year is starting, and we have to worry about child safety. Watch out for school crosswalks or any crosswalk, and remember, pedestrians have the right-of-way in the crosswalks. Be mindful also that while in school zones, that we strictly enforce the speed limit in the school zones. Also, parents should be very cautious. Don't drop your children off a block or two from school. Drop them off in the parent drop-off area. Although it may be more inconvenient, we've had some real tragedies of children who were dropped off in the wrong place trying to get to school, and it's just not worth that extra couple of minutes.
Drivers who pass a stopped school bus improperly commit a serious moving violation. They may receive a citation and be required to pass a driver improvement course if convicted. On a two-way street or highway, all drivers moving in either direction must stop for a stopped school bus that is picking up or dropping off children. You must always stop if you're moving in the same direction as the bus, and you must remain stopped until the bus stop arm is withdrawn. If the highway is divided by a raised barrier or an unpaved median at least 5 feet wide, you don't need to stop if you're moving in the opposite direction of the bus. Painted lines or pavement markings are not considered barriers. For more information, you can visit volusia.org/sheriff. The St. Johns River Specialty License Plate is a great way to show your support for preserving, protecting, and restoring the beautiful St. Johns River.
One of the ways that we can support the St. Johns River and restoration efforts is to purchase a specialty tag for the St. Johns River, and the tag costs an extra $25 on top of the fee that you normally would pay. But the good news is that through October 31st, if you buy the tag before October 31st, you actually get a rebate back. So you're actually just paying the normal fee, and you'll get the $25 back from the St. Johns River Alliance.
The St. Johns River has played an important role in Florida's history. Its basin was home to the native Timucua tribes, who called it Welaka, or River of Lakes. The river received its modern name from the mission of San Juan del Puerto, which was funded by friars in the 1500s to serve the Timucuans. In the 1800s, steamboats made the St. Johns River a popular winter destination for northerners. The river received designations as an American Heritage River from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency in 1997. Today, the river is an important navigational channel and source for diverse and recreational uses.
The money from the tag not only supports the river itself, but there are trails, walking trails, biking trails, hiking trails that the tag money supports. It supports accessibility through boat ramps, kayak and canoe launches. This is a very attractive tag. You can see a sunrise or a sunset and a heron flying across that. Also has a kayaker paddling on the St. Johns River, and the kayak name is King, and that's after Senator King, who was a big proponent of the St. Johns River. But it's an absolutely beautiful tag with some palmetto bushes in the front, some vegetation in the back, and of course the blue representing the river. Just a very attractive, beautiful tag that would look, I think, just wonderful on any vehicle.
The St. Johns River specialty tag can be purchased at local tag and title offices, and for more information you can call 386-736-5936.
Volusia County Chair Jason Davis. You know, American veterans deserve our deepest respect, and Volusia County is dedicated to helping our local veterans obtain the benefits they're entitled to. Our veteran service counselors have helped veterans receive more than $173 million in compensation and pension benefits each year, along with $1.3 billion in home loans. Volusia County has veteran service offices in DeLand, Orange City, Daytona Beach, and New Smyrna Beach. For more information, please call 386-740-5102 or visit volusia.org/veterans.
Library programming in the areas of early literacy, employment services, and small business development contribute to local economic development. Michelle Coates with the Business Beat visits our local library system.
We often think of the library as a literacy tool, but it's also an economic development tool. I'm Michelle Coates with the Business Beat, and we're here at Daytona Beach Regional Library at City Island to learn more. Public libraries are natural partners in local economic development efforts. They often are centrally located and provide a variety of resources designed to foster human growth and development, promote early literacy and school readiness, and develop workforce capacity. Larger public library systems like Volusia County offer business-related databases and business reference materials, career development tools, and access to trained reference librarians. In fact, that's the mission of the Volusia County Library System. We spoke to Ann Powers, Volusia County Library IT Manager and Systems Librarian, about the resources our libraries offer to our business community.
We have lots of databases. I'd say we have about 120. We have about 18 to 20 devoted to business. Our Small Business Resource Center kind of does from A to Z on how to start a business, how to keep it going, and how to further yourself with marketing and even down to doing your accounting and taxes. Statistics that will give you the income area, the income for your area, the education level of the people in the area that you're planning on doing a business. So it will help you decide where in Volusia County you might want to put your office or your business.
Since libraries depend on a tax base supported in part by business, it makes sense that there's a vested interest in the support of that tax base. A major component of Volusia County Library's business support is through its e-resources, which are available to anyone with a free library card.
This is our main website, volusialibrary.org. Across the top on our menu, you will see e-resources. When you go there, this is where you can type a search if you knew of a specific term that you were looking for, such as legal. From a business perspective, you could do, all sorts of contracts would be there and available to you.
Nearly every professional in Volusia County can find a valuable business resource at their local library. From convenient ebooks and professional magazine downloads such as Forbes and Bloomberg Business Week.
Those can be downloaded directly to a tablet or a computer, and you can read it just like you were reading the magazine.
To every manner of legal forms and business operations information, to demographics of all types, to a collection of more than 250 journals focused on all aspects of communications, advertising, marketing, and public relations. And for those looking to develop international relationships, there's a resource for that too.
Mango Languages is an interesting database because you can do a basic language course, which will teach you how to travel and get around and order food in a restaurant. You can do a more advanced course, which will actually teach you how to speak the language. Or you can simply use a translator.
Public libraries have incredible reach geographically and virtually. Nationally, more than 9,000 libraries provide services in more than 16,000 facilities and through the internet. 13 branch libraries serve Volusia County, all of which have free Wi-Fi and public access computers.
At any given point, our wireless LAN controller, we have 175 to 200 people on.
Visit the Volusia County Public Library website at volusialibrary.org for information about the collection, databases, downloadable media, e-resources, online catalog, upcoming programs, and more. I hope you've learned about a few valuable business resources available at your local Volusia County Library. I'm Michelle Coates with the Business Beat.
And once again, you can find out more by visiting volusialibrary.org. And now let's join health correspondent Stephanie Strong for this report from the Volusia County Health Department.
The Volusia County Health Department advises everyone to be aware of the dangers of swimming in lakes, ponds, and rivers, but especially of stirring up the sediment in shallow water or diving and swimming underwater, which can enable the amoeba to enter the nose and possibly infect the brain. Let's find out more about this. Naegleria is a big name for a very tiny parasite, the amoeba, that is usually found in freshwater bodies such as lakes and ponds. Naegleria fowleri causes an infection that develops when these parasites enter the human body through the nose, making their way to the brain. This infection causes a rare but life-threatening disease called primary amoebic melanoencephalitis, or PAM.
PAM is an amoeba infection, and the amoeba actually dwell in our lakes and ponds and rivers in the bottom of the river in the sediment. And when the temperature of our water reaches 80 degrees, these amoeba become infective and very active. So it's very dangerous to swim in our ponds and lakes that are small and hot and stagnant at this time of year.
Symptoms of PAM can start as quickly as 1 to 14 days after infection. Symptoms include headache, fever, nausea, vomiting, and stiff neck. Seek immediate medical attention if you have any of these symptoms after swimming in fresh water. As the disease moves into the brain, it causes swelling, which leads to confusion, lack of attention, loss of balance, seizure, and hallucinations. This disease usually results in death within 3 to 7 days.
This is a very unusual, uncommon infection, and yet those who are infected are usually the young, and it's almost universally fatal. So it's an infection that you need to avoid.
The safest way to prevent infection: don't swim or jump into warm, stagnant fresh water, such as ponds or warm water discharge pools or unchlorinated swimming pools. Don't swim in polluted water. Don't swim in areas posted as no swimming. And hold your nose or use nose plugs when jumping or diving into water. The risk increases during hot summer months. Avoid swimming or jumping into these bodies of fresh water during the hot summer months when the water is warm and the water levels are low. As temperatures rise, so does your chance of becoming infected. This PAM infection cannot be spread from person to person. You may get more facts at www.myfloridaeh.com, www.cdc.gov, or you may also visit the Volusia County Health Department's website at www.volusiahealth.com. For Volusia Magazine and on behalf of the Volusia County Health Department, your guide to better health, I'm Public Information Officer Stephanie Strong.
As usual, if you have any questions about this or any other health-related issues, you can always log on to volusiahealth.com. It's time now to head into the studio to join our very own Community Information Director, Dave Byron, with his guest, the Executive Director with the Volusia County Building Industry Association, Sandy Bishop, for this important discussion.
Well, thank you, Amber, and hi, everyone. You know, after several years in the doldrums, the building industry in Volusia County is coming back strong. Residential permits in the second quarter of this year zoomed to a level not seen in recent years. So is home building in Volusia County fully recovered, or is this a short-term boost? Well, we'll find out today. We have with us in the studio Sandy Bishop. She's the Executive Director of the Volusia County Building Industry Association. Sandy, thank you for being with us. How are you doing today?
Good. Thank you for having me, Dave.
Hey, obviously, very, very good news in the second quarter. Permits were up significantly. Obviously, this prompts the key question. Is our building industry back for good, or what do you think?
The building industry is on a slow recovery. We've been very optimistic. I think there's a new happiness in the group because not only was the second quarter high, the July numbers were incredible.
Right.
July we're at 118 permits, which hasn't been seen in ages. Is it all the way back? No. Do we want it back to 2005? No.
Yeah, you know, we've talked about this before, and a lot of people, including yourself, you're kind of using that cautiously optimistic phrase.
I started it.
Yeah, I know you did, and you know, I think probably for good reason, because you know, the crash was a pretty loud thud, and here we are back on somewhat of a road to recovery. But I think everyone just, as you say, being a little cautious. Going back to 2005, and you mentioned that as kind of a benchmark year, you know, it was just an unbelievable pace of activity. And I think a lot of people kind of hope that we don't necessarily reach that furious pace again.
Absolutely. The common best knowledge right now is that we go 60% of that would be a sustainable level that we could live with. Do we want 5,000 permits in a year again? No. Do we want 2,500? That would be great.
Well, let's talk about that just for a second. You just said, do we want 5,000 permits in a year? Probably not. 2,500 would be good. Why do you say that?
You can't keep up that level of activity. There were too many homes that people were getting into that they couldn't afford. We want to make sure that it is sustainable, that there is the labor, that there are the materials, that there are the jobs, more importantly, so that people can afford housing.
And I suppose, you know, if you're out there building homes as fast as you can build them, there's always a chance of a slip up along the way when you're working at that kind of a pace, I guess.
Well, there's a slip up, but there were an awful lot of speculative homes built that were not going. And when it turned off, the faucet turned off very, very quickly.
Yeah, it sure did. What do you think is attributing or fueling the growth that we're seeing right now?
I think that people are finally getting the prices they want for the houses that they're selling. There's a pent-up demand. Folks are getting jobs again, so they can afford to get a house. And folks are having a new reality on what pricing should be. The used house market is quickly going away. All the foreclosures have been, they're not all gone, but the ones that are still worth buying, the prices are going up. You're seeing the used market go up, and they don't have any inventory.
Right.
So new homes are back.
Well, Sandy, you know, it wasn't that long ago where people were saying, you know, interest rates were at, you know, historic lows, and there were still some people out there that were kind of just hoping that they'd go even lower. I'm afraid that if people are still thinking that, they probably missed that train.
That train is gone. That boat is gone.
Yeah.
6 weeks ago, you could get a loan in the high threes. Today, they're quoting 4.5, 4.375. You're going to be about a 4.5% rate for your 30-year mortgage.
Which is still a pretty darn good deal.
It's still historic, but you're not going to see the threes again.
Right. Hey, one of the other things that is good news for the builders, and you just touched on it briefly, is the fact that the pricing for new homes is sort of up a little bit. Is that just a question of supply and demand?
It's a question of supply and demand, but the supply of materials is going up very strongly. It's also very hard to get labor right now. We are starting to have a labor problem in the construction industry in Volusia County.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, you know, I've read in the Orlando area, for example, and they're also coming back strong. I guess most of the state of Florida is, for that matter. And they're already starting to feel the problem of not having enough workers to complete these orders. Are we starting to see that here, do you think?
We're starting to see that construction superintendents, painters, carpenters. If I could find crews, I could make a commission on selling them to the builders that need them right now. Framers and trim carpenters are both very scarce at the moment.
Why do you think that is? Just so much work on? Is just fewer people?
There's fewer people, but those people have not moved back. They moved away to find work. They went to Texas. They went to North Dakota. They went to North Carolina. They went where the work was. They haven't moved back, or they changed careers. A lot of folks have retrained and changed.
Do you think they will come back?
I think that they'll come for the work. Now, we have an awful lot of commercial activity starting up in this town. That's even higher wages. They'll be coming back for that, too.
Right. Well, you know, speaking of that, it just seems like in the last few months there's been just an amazing number of huge projects that are in the pipeline. One or two actually are under construction. That's the work at the Speedway, $400 million from what I understand, and then of course the big addition at the Museum of Arts and Sciences. But there's a couple of hotels that are being talked about. There's a big apartment complex in Port Orange. So the construction jobs, I guess, are going to be there.
There's an awful lot coming up. The new Daytona 1 project across from the Speedway is going to be pulling in an awful lot of people as well.
And what do you think the overall impact of those commercial projects is going to be on the residential? You know, most of the people that I've talked with, you know, they sort of use the phraseology that, you know, commercial follows rooftop, so to speak. So do you think that's...
Commercial follows rooftops, so some of these projects are actually going to be having the residential follow them.
Right.
They're going to bring people in, they're going to bring jobs in. You may not buy a house here, but you'll stay here for 6 months for a job. They'll be taking a rental. Someone who is in that rental may be buying their first house. It moves on up the line.
One of the things that hurt the state of Florida during this downturn was those baby boomers that want to come down here to Florida, that, you know, play golf, sit in the sun, that sort of thing, or work, couldn't sell their houses wherever they were located, particularly in the Northeast. We get a lot of folks coming down here from that area. With this kind of thawing of the economy, that would seem to bode well for Florida and this part of the state.
It does, but realize that their income has gone down. With interest rates down, their yield on their savings is down. Their investments are down. They're getting less money for their home where they've had this home for 30 or 40 years up north, and they expected a high equity to use to buy their next home in Florida. It's not as much. So they're coming to a new reality. I'm calling a big trend a dynamic deluxe downsizing. A lot of folks are even in a higher income and they're building or buying a smaller, more deluxe home. They don't want the great big house anymore. I think McMansions may be on the way out.
Small home, but with nice features.
Absolutely.
You know, all of this prompts questions about where do you think we're going on a longer term basis? I mean, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but you've been in this game for a while. What do you think in the next 2, 3, 4 years for this area? What do you think will happen?
As far as construction?
Yeah.
I think that we're going to continue on a slow growth up. We're not going to have a 2005, 2006 boom. I think that it's going to be slow and steady, which is far easier to sustain, far easier for everyone to deal with.
And do you think now that the builders are starting to see those profitable projects again? I know there was a time when we talked to people in the past where builders were literally just trying to break even just to keep the crews and that sort of thing, but now that I think they're starting to make a little money.
I think they're making a little money. They're not making a killing. They're starting to raise prices slightly, but they're also having to cover the material costs going up. Concrete, drywall, it's all going up very steadily, as is lumber.
And so on the next 3 to 5 years, you see kind of a steady Eddie kind of approach in Volusia County?
Building construction is very cyclical. It goes up, it goes down. It goes up, it goes down. I think we're on a slow road up.
And you know what's interesting? Talking to some people in the real estate business, when the crash occurred, it was exactly that. The realtors that I were talking to that were in the business for a long period of time said, hey, I'm not going to get too excited about the boom because I know that there'll be a downturn coming, and it's, we've got to make sure that we stay on an even plane here. And I guess that's what I'm hearing you say.
It is. You have to stay level. You have to keep your expenses where you can afford them even when it's down.
Right. Tell us about your association before we run out of time. You're, I guess, an advocacy agency for the building industry.
We're definitely an advocacy agency. We are very politically involved. We're very much concerned that the regulations, the people, the politicians, the people that are elected are at least open to listening to us. You can't control anyone, but we want to be able to have a voice.
Sure. We
want them to hear and listen, because construction let us down. Construction can lead us out of the downturn. We need to have the best scenarios possible for our people to build houses and their lives to be enriched.
Well, certainly if we needed a reminder of how important growth in building is to the economy locally in the state of Florida, just see it stop and the impact that can happen there.
It is dramatic. It's dramatic and it's traumatic.
No doubt about it.
The construction young folks that left with their kids, that's probably part of the downturn in the school population as well.
Oh, I would guess.
And realize that when construction and all of these big projects get going, the tax basis goes up. We're improving property. When we take a vacant lot and turn it into a new house, it's not only more energy efficient, it's built to more higher and better hurricane standards. It's to the person's selections that they want, and you're taking an empty lot and making it a tax-paying full house.
No doubt about it. Sandy, for people that perhaps they'd want to learn more about your association or perhaps get in contact with you, do you have a website or a method that people can get a hold of you?
Absolutely. Volusia, BIA, which stands for Building Industry Association.com. So VolusiaBIA.com. And we're in Daytona, and the number is 386-226-1414.
Well, Sandy, I want to thank you for being our guest today on Volusia Magazine. It does seem a lot more smiles on the faces of our builders these days, and that's a good thing. So,
I call it the new vibrancy. Thank you for
go.
having me.
And with that, Amber, we'll go back to you.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you too for watching Volusia Magazine. If you have any questions about the show, feel free to give us a call at any of the numbers you see listed here, or you can log on to volusia.org and click on the News tab at the top of the screen to find us. Incidentally, you can find the County Council's meeting calendar there too. You can use volusia.org to find out about meeting dates, workshops, topics of interest, activities, and how you can become involved. You might be interested to know that the Lyonia Environmental Center has just announced its September program lineup. A month of fun and family-friendly activities can be found by visiting lyoniapreserve.com/LEC. And we hope you won't forget to listen to Volusia Today, Volusia County Government's weekly public radio program. Volusia Today airs every Tuesday and Sunday mornings on the local radio stations you see on your screen. For Volusia Magazine, I'm Amber Patterson. Have a wonderful evening.